Today's episode of Reset to Reinvent podcast is brought to you by the Adams Group Agency, developing final expense leaders.
Welcome to the final week of the series Butterflies in Flight on Reset to Reinvent podcast. I'm your host, Helen Blocker Adams. And you know what? I am just so excited about the first 3 weeks that we've had these awesome women. And this week is not going to be any different. We've got 2 more awesome women that's going to be joining us here on this final week. So the month of June, we've been doing a series of women in our Consolidated Planning of America family who have transformed, reset, reinvented themselves, sometimes multiple times, from a cocoon to a butterfly. And so all of these 8 women, the final 2 today, were handpicked. You know, I was very particular about who I wanted for these 8 individuals. And all of these ladies, I consider them friends, they're business partners, and they are extraordinary, and they are butterflies in flight. So our theme this month has been butterflies in flight. And what I want you to do, you, I want you to download this episode, subscribe, share with your friends, scroll down to the footer where you can see our website. You can go to our stand store, check out some of our books, and just show some love and go ahead and subscribe and support this podcast. But without further ado, I want to give you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my butterfly in flight for today, the final week of this series, Amanda Hairston Muhammad from the Queen City of Charlotte. Hey, Amanda.
Hey, Helen. Hey, Helen.
I am so glad.
Super excited.
I am so glad that you're with us. You know, and I'm just going to dive right in. So I want you now. Oh gosh, there's so much that you could talk about, but I want to dive in here first. When you obviously, when I reached out to you, you immediately say, "Oh yeah, Helen, count me in." Yes, I would love to. Okay, so when I shared the theme, butterflies in flight, what came to your mind? What does that mean to you? What did that resonate to you? The theme, butterflies in flight. Let's start there.
Okay, absolutely, Helen. And thank you again for having me on. I'm really excited about this podcast. And, you know, the theme really resonated with me, Helen, because I don't know if you see some of my posts on Facebook or in other channels and stuff that we're a part of. I always post a butterfly. Because the butterfly to me is just a symbolization of myself, you know, coming from a place of a dark place, being in that cocoon and, you know, kind of being that caterpillar first, kind of finding my way, crawling through some obstacles and challenges to get into a cocoon. Well, inside that cocoon, I had to realize that I need to build strength and beauty and confidence. And to me, you know, when I heard that, you know, and being able to just coming out of that cocoon and blossom, that was me. That's me. So the butterfly has always been a great symbol for me because I know what it symbolizes. It symbolizes a person, more in particular, sometimes women. You know, a lot of times we get in that mode of pulling back, you know, and we get resistant because, you know, we've been through some things and we don't feel confident. We don't feel beautiful. You know, we get to a space that we don't know how to get out of. And I think that's kind of when you see a caterpillar crawling on the pavement, that's kind of where they are. They're not so confident, you know, but boy, oh boy, when they come out of that cocoon, they have a chance to go in there, I mean, and transform into a whole different being. in a whole different being. And, and that's so many of us that were able to do that. And that's why I love the butterfly. And they're full of color, so many different array of colors. You just feel like, wow, when you look at a butterfly now, how did you go from that black black caterpillar to this beautiful yellow and gold, butterfly or blue and whatever? Yeah, it's just beautiful thing. And they're
God's creature.
harmless.
God's creature. It's just a
Yes.
beautiful thing. And you're so the stages of a butterfly. So obviously you went through stages. Now you're from West Virginia.
West Virginia,
Now,
born and
you know
raised.
what? I mean, most people, I've never met anybody from, you're the first person ever in life. I'm like, where is West Virginia? So tell us, how did you come from West Virginia, of all states in the United States of America?
Well, West by God, Virginia, country roads take me home to a place that I love. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads. Let me
Glen
tell you
Campbell.
something. Yep.
Yep.
I'm telling you, those country roads, just, I mean, that's where I was born and raised. My parents, my grandparents, born and raised right there in West Virginia. And, it's this little small town, a very small town, but Helen, I had the best
Oh,
childhood that grew me into a person that I am, really our community was based off of morals and values and respect. And that meant a lot to me. Even now, more so as an adult, I appreciate the upbringing that I had. Remembering all the little ladies in the community. Because if you got in trouble down the street, oh boy, if you when you got home, it was on. Okay, because everyone up the street, coming up the street, knew that you got in trouble. So it was just a wonderful community of support. And that's one of the things that I remember about my community that I lived in. Wouldn't trade it for the world. I had the best childhood, and it resonates in my soul on just the memories of being in that small, rocky country road town. And my husband's crazy. He's like, "You were born here. You live on a mountain. The whole state is a mountain." But I wouldn't trade it for the world. Hollers and coal mines and dirt roads, Helen. Oh my goodness. You would have loved it. You would have
oh,
loved
oh, I mean, I
it.
would just love to go for the experience. Now, I do remember Rod telling me about those
Oh,
the steep mountains
steep
and
mountains.
the difficulty in driving certain vehicles
Hmm.
yeah, I do remember that. That sounded scary to me. Don't look down, right?
Don't look down or don't look over. Don't look over.
So how did you get to Charlotte?
Well, West Virginia was based on, the only really jobs there was coal mines, to be a school teacher. Nothing wrong with any of those. But the land of opportunities, bless you, was just not there. The land of opportunity was just not there. And you hear your parents, your grandparents say all the time, you got to go to school, you got to get a good job, da 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 da. So I had already had. I'm the last of my parents' child, and and the only girl and the youngest. So I was born and determined, hey, I'm not sticking around here, So it was always in my mind that I was going to move out of West Virginia. So
Ah.
when I first moved out of West Virginia, I was 19 years old and moved to Orlando, Florida
Oh,
first. That was my first stop.
okay.
And stayed in Orlando, got married to my first husband, and stayed in Orlando for a couple of years. And then we moved and migrated to North Carolina. So that's how I got to North Carolina. I had some family here. And we lived in Orlando. At that time, not a lot of money. We just was not making things happen, and
Mhm.
we needed to go somewhere else. So we wanted to be close to home, but not too close.
Okay.
So we landed in Charlotte.
How about that? And so your background, you've got a corporate background, you've got an
Mhm.
entrepreneurial, but obviously you've had an entrepreneurial mindset probably as
Mhm.
long as you can remember. And so the corporate, the entrepreneurial, you've got a lovely daughter. Obviously, you have a new husband. I mean, he's not new, but he's still
Mhm.
new.
Right?
So tell us about when we think about that butterfly and we think about the transitions and some of the challenges, tell us about any challenges that you may have faced. Let's just say when you moved to Charlotte, you've been there for a while now, but
Mhm.
tell us about some of the challenges that you may have had and how the experience living in West Virginia, being grounded as solid as you were, how did that help you to get through to where you are today?
Absolutely, absolutely. 28 years now in Charlotte.
Okay.
Yes, in Charlotte. So I've been living here longer than I've lived anywhere else.
Yeah.
But when I transitioned out of West Virginia to Orlando, Helen, oh, you talking about a huge culture shock for me. I was like, what in the world is going on? We went into Target and there was another language speaking. And to me, I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Of course, it was Spanish.
Spanish.
Just adjusting to different cultures
Mhm.
was a big challenge for me because I'm in the country and in the hollers is what we call it of West Virginia. That's kind of what I was used to. So adjusting to different cultures, and then when I moved to Charlotte, things were a lot more like I knew them to be. Um, you know, when I first started working in corporate America, um, I started off as a temp, Helen, believe it or not. I
Okay.
started off as a temp, and I was, if you want to call it a paper pusher or shuffler or a filer or whatever you want to tell, I was a clerk.
Oh.
Okay.
Mm.
But, just bound and determined to keep moving up. So in that role as a clerk, I was the best clerk that you was ever going to have, and they hired me. That kind of launched my career in corporate America on the payroll side and the HR side. And I just kept moving up from then. And I knew nothing about it at the time. I had some college, but no degree. I just started to work through obstacles. Now I got stuck in a hiccup of um, went through a tenacious divorce. And during that divorce, my confidence,
Mm.
went down.
Ah.
I mean, my confidence was shot. So no longer did I believe in myself or I was confident. And Helen, I will tell you, I was the person that will have on jeans and a sweatshirt and put me in the back of the room and please don't call my name.
Mm.
That was me. So that's how low my self-esteem and my confidence had gotten.
Mm.
And then I found Mary Kay. Well, Mary Kay found me. And
Ah.
yes, yes. And just really thankful for that company and the culture of Mary Kay molding me and transitioning me into
A
the
butterfly.
person that I am, the butterfly.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I really got that self awareness again. I was no longer scared
Yeah.
at all. It even helped in negotiations. That confidence came back. And Helen, I didn't have a degree, but I knew my skill set and my worth. So I was able to sit down at the table when I went for a job and negotiate salaries and contracts
Mm.
on what I should be paid. But I couldn't do that before. I just took whatever that they would give me. And I probably was underpaid about $40,000. And I just took it because I was too scared to speak up for myself.
Mm.
So that was, in that transition of the cocoon. And I hadn't transformed yet.
And that Mary Kay career was the launching pad, if you will, for the old Amanda that got squashed like a caterpillar for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
but you didn't stay there. Your faith didn't allow you to stay there. Your upbringing from your family, but at the same time, for those who are listening or watching, there is a period where we do feel like a caterpillar, and it's okay for a little while until we
Mm-hmm.
can find our way back to where we need to be. Wouldn't you agree? It's okay. In other words, so many times people have a tendency to beat themselves up. They just beat
Mm-hmm.
themselves up. Oh, no, as opposed to just accepting it. It's part of the journey. Just like the transformation of that butterfly, it had to be a caterpillar first.
Right.
Ugly, despicable, just
Yep.
crawls on the ground. It's
Hurry.
creepy, it's furry,
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, it is, unless it gets squashed, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to transform. And that's what happened with you. And Mary Kay had a lot to do with that.
It had a tremendous amount of what happened to me in my transformation. It really did. And I think being around the women, the camaraderie of those confident women, I was just look at them and like, I that can be me. I want to be like you, and just, it was no, um, deflection against anyone. It was all love and kind of like almost like a sister sorority type,
Yeah.
when I first got into that company. And I appreciate that because my confidence built, Helen. And the company, it really took me out. And I'm glad you mentioned that, taking you back where you came from, because my mom, even at 83, she tells me, don't ever forget where you came from and always keep the Lord by your side.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that also grounded me in my faith. God first, family second, career third. The basis of that company, Mary Kay. And it got me back to my faith that I had kind of got as an adult and stepped away from home
Mm.
and kind of did my own thing and kind of, as they say, backslid. Well, put it on the back burner for a minute.
Mm.
And but it was able to be resonated, and it gets stronger now because I'm well aware
Yeah.
of who I am.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
any of this podcast, speaking on stage, that was not going to be me
Wow.
at all. It's amazing, ain't it?
It is
Transformation is
amazing.
amazing.
And one of the things I want to remind our listeners is and viewers is that, I've known Amanda for at least 4 or 5 years. And all the time that I've known her, she is like she is now. So when I'm hearing in the low point and the lack of confidence, I can't even visualize it. Okay.
Mhm.
I simply cannot visualize it. And that's what's so powerful about when you think about the title of this podcast, Reset to Reinvent. You had
Mhm.
to reset and reinvent yourself.
Absolutely.
And there has to be tools or people or places to help you get there. And so one of the things we talk about in this show is having actionable strategies to get from point A to point B. And Mary Kay was one of those that
Mhm.
helped you in that transformation. So moving past Mary Kay, and now you're in the insurance space. You still have the involvement with Mary Kay, but now you're building an enterprise with your husband in the insurance space. So tell us, how did you evolve into that area?
Well, Helen, insurance is not something I thought I would ever see myself doing. Just didn't think about it. I was in the corporate space, through my confidence and had really great positions in the corporate world. I worked on the HR side and the IT side, or it's called HRIS, HR Information Technology. And so I had really built a skill set that landed me with, jobs where I made $100,000,
Okay.
in those roles,
Wow.
you know, um, but the hours and the time and the politics really kind of like I was just outdone.
Mm.
And someone came to me and said, you know what? You can change your life financially
Mm.
if you get yourself a life insurance license. I'm like, whatever. But seriously, they did. And I said, you know what? I trusted the person and I said, let me go try this. Let me try it.
Yeah.
I did, could not pass the test for nothing. you know, I could not pass that test, but I was so determined. Like with anything that I start, I'm
Right.
determined to get through it, and I did. So, and when I got my license, I started working with a company, and just I was like, okay, this is not for me. I'm going to go back to corporate America. Until I met, my mentor now, Dr. Lewis Burns, that junior that said, "Hey, I'll help you." And boy, I mean, that's when I think the launching pad really happened. Coming into the agency that we're with Consolidated Planning, and being able to, have the tools, the mentorship, um, um, just knowing how I was so green to the industry. I needed to know what to do, what to say, how to do it, and I needed to know everything because
Yeah.
I knew nothing. So I was thankful that I was able to come to the CPA platform to be able to insert myself into what we call as the system.
Yeah.
And we all know that, if you got a system that you can follow, the acronym Save Your Self Time, Energy, and Money,
Yeah.
that if you can plug yourself into a system, that you should be able to have some success, whether it's small, medium, or large. However, you should be able to have some success, and that's what I did. I just plugged myself into the system. I listened. Our mentor used to always talk about listening, and I knew that one of the things that you have to do as a person that's on the rise. Here's someone that has came before me that has set the stage and the tone
Right.
for the business. I need to listen, and that's what I did. I listened and I folded myself into the plan that was already in place. And that really allowed me to, it was, you know, the success, being able to pair up with my husband, Roderick Muhammad. And, I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, we bumped fists, Helen, and we was like, boom, we just go, let's
Yeah.
go. We're
Yeah.
ready.
I mean, your background in the corporate HR,
Mhm.
very system oriented, things have to be in order, in place, and, spreadsheets and CRMs and all of those
Mhm.
kind of things. So that was a natural, mentally, that was a natural transition for you to get in a system, income based system like we have with CPA. Can you agree with that?
I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that
Yeah.
because, you know, um, that's how my mind works.
Yeah.
It works systematic, and I analyze. So, and it's repetitive. So as long as I can get into the system and do this, A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
watch and repeat, A, B, C, D, as long as I could do that, because that's the way my mind thinks
Mhm.
systematically. And it had been programmed because I was in the HR and IT space for 25 years.
Wow.
So my mind was already programmed
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And that's how it worked.
Yeah. Now, over the
Mhm.
past few years, you have had some physical slash health challenges. Now, we're talking about you're entrenched in the final expense industry as an insurance agent. Obviously, that's 1099. That's not the corporate, comfortable, secure, real job type. You know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And
Yes, ma'am.
so tell us about some of those challenges that you've had health wise, physical wise, your car accident. I think you had more than one, if I'm not mistaken. I know you had one bad one
Right.
in Charlotte, and how you have, I mean, you look gorgeous, you look
Thank
amazing.
you.
You still got some of the health challenges, but looking at you, you wouldn't be able to tell. Hearing your voice, you can't be able to tell. But there's someone out there that's struggling that might have had similar challenges or maybe not. But
Mhm.
we're talking about reset to reinvent. We're talking about, that transformation. So tell us some of the challenges that you've had and how you manage to just keep going and what
Mhm.
drives you to keep going.
Absolutely, Helen. Since 2021, when my sicknesses really first started to really kick in with my body, You know, I would have to say that I have found myself resetting and reinventing
Mm,
each year. You
mm,
know, Lord, this year is going to be a better year. I'm not going to have these challenges. Lord, this year is going to be a better year. I'm not going to have this. So I found myself resetting and reinventing every year. You know,
mm,
2021 was some serious challenge of having some female, surgeries that, and then a hernia surgery at the same time. It was supposed to be a simple surgery that turned into almost 30 days in the hospital from an infection,
mm,
just really bad. COVID in that same year. And during my recovery, my brother passed away in
mm,
December of 2021 from COVID
mm,
complications. And, I'm still in the midst of recovering, and he died,
mm,
so it was traumatic. My oldest brother, um, you know, um, I was having struggles with my feet. I was a cheerleader from all my life, ever since I was 4 years old, all the way through college. I even coached in Charlotte for many, many years. I coached cheerleading,
okay.
and I danced. So just a lot of wear and tear over the years that caused some serious ankle pain that had to replace my Achilles
Ooh,
completely with cadaver tissue.
ooh,
Yeah. And that was 2023. And I found myself in an excruciating, some of the worst pain
mm,
I've ever felt in my life. And that was about an 8-month struggle of
mm,
trying to walk. I didn't think I was going to be able to walk again.
mm,
And I was able to walk, but I was never myself. So all of those things those fun things that I like to do, the cheering, the working out, the riding the bikes, the aerobics, the dancing, all of those came to a halt.
mm.
Now going on 2 years now. And I can still do them, but not at the level that I would have done them prior to my surgery.
Right.
And that's been agonizing. And Helen, I will tell you, um, until here lately, I realized I actually went to a mental health awareness class
Mm-hmm.
because I was suffering from mental health.
Mm,
The pain was so excruciating
mm,
and can get so excruciating, that I would tell my husband that, you know what, here's the deal. This is what we're going to do. I think we just need to call the doctor, and I'm dead serious in the middle of pain, and I want to have my leg cut off. I
mm.
want to have my leg cut off from my knee down because I cannot take the pain. So they told me I'm going to live with chronic pain. CRPS, chronic regional pain syndrome, is what they diagnosed after the surgery, that I will live with for the rest of my life.
Mm.
And couple months ago, I told him I just wanted to cut off. I'm crying. I'm in this mode. He's trying to do everything he can to make me feel better. My
Yeah,
daughter, I was walking on a walker, Helen. I mean,
yeah.
just bad, bad, bad. And I want to cut it off. So, Helen, I prayed.
Mm,
I was in the midst of a deep cry by myself, and I knew I was getting into a serious depression.
mm,
That because you're going through this pain
and-
alone.
mm,
Nobody understands
yeah,
how you feel.
yeah. Mm,
And it's painful. They can only do what they can do.
right.
So, in your mind, you're thinking, do I kill myself? Do I cut off my leg? Do I end my life? I mean, you're thinking all of these things.
Mm,
And that made me realize that I was having some mental health issues. I
yeah.
really was.
Wow.
And I was on Facebook, Helen, and I heard a clip that came on that talked about the inflammation. Eating meat causes inflammation. So I started to do my own research,
Mm,
and I quit eating meat cold turkey right then because I didn't know what else to do. I done
right.
had shots, I done had
Yeah,
medications that I'm constantly on.
yeah,
I'm a young woman, but
yeah,
getting older, and I was like, I can't live like this for the rest of my life.
yeah.
So I said, well, let me start here. And Helen, I mean, I feel so much better. I
Oh,
think I'm on a great journey to my health, that I quit eating meat cold turkey. I'm working on more raw, working on losing weight, more water. And it's a journey and a daily struggle, but I gotta do it.
Yeah.
I gotta do it. But even my mental health, my psyche has improved because I was down in the dumps. When you see me, I may look like I am just okay,
Right.
but I'm really not.
Yeah.
So I know that's a struggle with a lot of people. They're really not okay. So we have to check on people. We have to make sure that they're okay. And whenever you hear somebody tells you and they say, "Yeah, I'm okay," they're not
They're
okay.
not okay.
They're not okay.
Yeah. And so, in a situation like that, as we wrap up, there's so much more we can talk about. But as we wrap up, Amanda, when someone does say, "Hey, I'm okay," what do you recommend that a person does to, what do we do in that case, that situation?
Well, you can always, just have some more conversation with them. See if they'll open up to you,
Yeah.
and talk with that person. I think taking the time to talk with someone is always helpful. A lot of times we can go get so busy with our day to day lives that if somebody says, "Yeah, I'm okay," then we're like, "Okay," and we just take it as it is.
Right.
So I think it's just spending a little bit more time, asking a few more questions, praying with that person. And always, you know how I feel about positive affirmations.
Yeah.
I think we all have, some hidden, buried gems, some nuggets, some something inside of us. We just need someone to help us birth it. We just need someone to help us birth it. So, I think talking to someone in that matter and just letting that person know that, hey, you can always call me. It doesn't matter, if they have someone to talk to, and I didn't mention in 2023, Helen, in the midst of my surgery of that year, you know, I lost the two most important people
Mm.
that my mom, but the two most important people that I always talk to. My best friend died in March,
Yeah.
and
That's
I
right.
lost my father-in-law died in March, and my best friend and father-in-law died on the same day.
Mm, mm, mm.
I had the surgery. They died in March. I had the surgery in April, and my dad died in December. So between my best friend Deborah Harris and my father Fred Hairston, those are the like my go-tos
Yeah.
of people that I talk to. So you talking about going into a cocoon
Mm,
and having to come back out of that cocoon. I buried it.
mm.
I buried the grief. So not only dealing with the pain, I've been grieving.
Ooh, so that
So a
was
lot of
like a double, triple whammy on your
yeah,
body, on your psyche.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, extreme. And I didn't realize it, and my husband started to say, I think we need to get you some cancer because it started because I never grieved. I kind of internalized it.
Mm,
I never grieved because I was always in pain. I couldn't grieve
mm,
because of the pain.
mm.
Yeah. So, but you can get through anything. You really can. And talking about it, this platform, and just having someone that you can lean on. We can't close our backs to people
Yeah.
because people really need help.
Yeah.
And we got to make sure that we're open to listen.
Yeah. That is amazing. Amanda, she is one of our butterflies in flight. And I want to thank you so much for joining us as part of our fourth of 4 week series in the month of June. You're just amazing. I look forward to spending more time over the coming months and years in this entrepreneurial space that we have, whether it's a part of the podcast. And, who knows? We just don't know what God has in store for these
Mm-hmm.
butterflies in flight. You know,
That's right.
and it definitely can be a correlation with our final expense business. And so I definitely want people to realize that you can be in a in an industry called final expense, go through a lot of stuff and still come out on the other side. And that's what this series is all about, Butterflies in Flight. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining
Thank
us.
you, Helen.
And you just have yourself a wonderful rest of the day. And we're going to see you. We're going to see you at the top.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to have the last of the eight of the last of the eight for the series as we wrap up the month of June, Butterflies in Flight.
Today's episode of Reset to Reinvent podcast is brought to you by Consolidated Planning of America. We help people with insurance.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Reset to Reinvent podcast. I'm your host, Helen Blocker Adams, and we're in week three of this incredible series of Butterflies in Flight. And this is episode 14. Oh my goodness, we're just rolling right along. So the month of June has been a series of women in our Consolidated Planning Family of America, which is my insurance family, who have transformed, reset, reinvented themselves, sometimes multiple times, from a cocoon to a butterfly. And so each week, we're featuring extraordinary women who were not only business partners, they're friends of mine. They come from different backgrounds, different ages, different everything. But what makes them so special is that I handpicked them for this series because they are butterflies in flight. And so what I want to do is welcome Marcea Mickens. Hey, Marcea.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing wonderful. I am so excited that you are here. And I know that
So
you're,
excited to be here.
you told me that you got some butterflies and you're a little nervous
Yes,
and,
ma'am.
and that is okay because one thing that I have learned, I don't care how often you speak or how often you speak,
Absolutely.
it's very easy it's okay to be a little nervous at first.
Absolutely.
And so what I want our audience to do is to find out, who is Marcea? Tell us a little bit about your background and anything you want us to know just to get this conversation started.
Absolutely. Well, of course, like she said, I'm Marcea Mickens. I have 3 boys. I'm from St. Matthews, South Carolina. And I was married for 13 years, recently I'm actually going through a divorce now, which is going to be a little bit about my story. I have a great support system, even going through all that. I have both of my parents, they've been married almost 40 years now. And, just to see them and, have them support me and my kids, it's just, that's who I am. That's what I come from. I come from a 2-parent home, and I'm actually somebody that's growing into this beautiful butterfly. That's what the theme is. And I'm just, I'm here to, speak on, how I became this person, how I became this strong person, how I've been through, so much to become this person. So I'm just a regular, normal person that has 3 kids, recently became a single mother, and just still going on with life. Like, life happens. Hey, we got to happen with it. So that's who I am.
Oh, well, Marcea, now you said you have 3 boys. How old are your boys?
My boys are 9, 13, and 15.
Now, in terms of support, having
Mhm.
parent support in the midst of divorce, in the midst of hurt and pain
Mhm.
and tragedy, because a lot of women go through a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
And last month, the month of May, was Mental Health Awareness Month, and there are
Absolutely.
a lot of people that really have a hard time coping. So, how has your support net, your support of your family helped you during this time? Give somebody some encouragement from that perspective.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we all think that we don't have, support sometimes, but it's always somebody that's there that's going to support you. You have to just tap into, who God telling you to tap into. And for me, it just so happened to be my great parents. My mom and my dad, I mean, my first of all, my boys are very athletic. Like they do everything from track to football to line dancing to basketball. My boys do everything. And when I'm not able to get them or take them, my parents be right there. It's just like a phone call away. Sometimes I don't even have to call, they already there. So just, having my parents, I could just pick up the phone and say, "Hey, could you get the boys?" Or, "Hey, can you do this for the boys?" And my parents just right there. So, even if it seems like you're by yourself, it's somebody that you can reach out to that will support you. You just have
Yeah.
to tap into God. Sometimes we don't want to hear what God is saying and that person to do it for us. But, if you tap into what God is telling you to do, God will give you that person that He wants beside you to support you. So just keep going. Don't give up. I mean, the saying is fake it till you make it. Go out there and just get it done. And then God going to put somebody in your reach that's going to be able to support you, but you got to keep going.
And I know you mentioned God several times, and
Mhm.
I know that you're have strong faith in God, and there may be someone listening or watching that does not. And so, how do you reach them? How do you give them that encouragement to step in that direction? Talk to that person.
Well, for me, I feel like that's my creator. And without God, I just feel like nothing is possible. I've been through so many things in life from, someone trying to get my kids taken away. I've been through, like I said, I'm going through a divorce where I was dealing with infidelity, and look at me now. Like you can't even tell that I've been through all of that. And that's because I tapped into God. I tapped into prayer, and we do, like, I'm the believer that prayer changes things. So going through all of that, and the theme, of course, is butterfly and flight. I felt like I was a worm. I felt like I was just crawling my way through, and then I became in my cocoon where God was developing me after
At
going through.
what point? At what point, Marcea, were you feeling that like that worm?
I felt like when DSS was called on me, and during the time I
Um,
felt like my husband was not like as supportive as I needed him to be during that time that it
yeah.
happened. And then, to find out that he was, cheating on me. At that point, I felt like, my world was crashing down. Like I was just crawling like that worm, trying to get,
Mm.
out of this stage in life to become that cocoon. So when I was going through all of that, I felt like, my back was against the wall. Like nobody had my back at the moment. Even though my parents were always there, I just felt alone because at the time I needed, my husband to be there. And I just felt like he wasn't there because, of course, he was elsewhere. And, through all of that, I had to depend on God. I had to depend on prayer. And, that's how I became into my cocoon stages, but at first I had to go through the worm stages. And that was the stages that God took me through life. And, at the
Mm.
time I didn't understand, I could not understand it. I could not, I couldn't believe it. Like this, I was such a great woman and I'm such a great friend to everybody. And it seemed like those were the people that were turning their backs on me. And I just was like, who can I turn to? I was scared to talk to anybody. I was scared to open up to anybody because I felt like everybody was against me. So I knew that I had to come out that worm stage, Mama Helen. I knew I had to, get out of that, but I just didn't know how. So that's when I depended on prayer. That's when I depended on God. Because one thing for certain, too, for sure, I know that I take care of my kids. I know that, somebody, these are people, little individuals that I raised and I know that I take care of. And somebody trying to get them taken away from me, that crushed my world. And not to have, who I had the kids by to be as supportive, it was just it was out of the, it was so devastating. I went through so much during that time. I felt like I was a fetus, at the time, just in the bed crying for days. And, I felt like I couldn't just go nowhere. I couldn't talk to nobody. And I knew I had to get up out of that stage for my kids. And, I know I had to become a cocoon. And that's when God drew me back in my cocoon stage, and he was developing me, he was making me whole again, and I just,
Yeah. Wow.
you know,
Wow.
I just
Wow.
I just had
And
to
so
do it.
and so that cocoon, one of the things, and you saw and heard where I talked about the 4 stages, and that
Mhm.
if that cocoon, that thin peeling, the thin uh,
Absolutely.
uh, out, if it's taken off too soon, then
Mhm.
that butterfly is going to die.
That's
And so
absolutely.
there was a period where you probably felt like you wanted to die. Not that you
Absolutely.
wanted to kill yourself, but just from hurt,
Hurt.
can
Absolutely.
make you feel,
Betrayal. Oh,
betrayal.
yes.
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 And so that's where that cocoon stage, and but you got past that, and it was God
Absolutely.
that helped you get past that. And so
Absolutely.
can you identify a point where you can just kind of put your finger on when the butterfly, when the veil was coming off, and when you were getting ready to get to the point where you were going to fly again?
Okay, so in all of this was happening around 2022, when all of this was happening. When the DSS was called, when, I kind of suspected that my husband was cheating, all of that was happening around the same time, 2021, 2022. So
Really?
2023, yes, yes. And I mean, me being strong, you didn't even notice any of that, it's just,
Mm-mm.
it's who I had to be. It's who God wants me to be, because
Yeah.
I know that we have a voice, here at CPA to help, other women. And I didn't understand at the time that God was taking me through that, but God knew what he was doing. God knew he was developing, my strength for the journey that he has for me. And the time that 2021, 2022, that's when I was going through all of that. And then I decided to lock my hair, you see my locks. That's when I decided to lock
Beautiful.
my hair and just started, like, a different journey, a different phase. And for me, when I locked my hair, it was like, okay, I'm a change with my hair, because, I started from like really small locks, and, I was like, as my locks change, I want to change with it. Then I started working out. I started pouring more into myself when I got my locks. I started, believing more into myself and what I needed to do for myself to help me develop a better individual for me and my kids. So when I locked
Oh,
my hair, I started working out. And then I just started seeing these changes, with my hair, with my body. I've always had confidence. No matter if I was cheated on, betrayed, I've always had confidence. But it's
yes.
just that, when I started seeing these changes with myself, and in that it was me that was making these changes, that's when I started becoming this butterfly. That's when I started, developing more strength and more power and more wisdom and knowledge and understanding, of who I was becoming and who God wanted me to be. So 2023, 2024, that's when I kind of became, this butterfly. I was becoming this butterfly. But God is great. God is good. But the devil hear your prayers too. The devil know your thoughts as well. So of course he tried to pull that thin layer off a little bit too quick. But other things started happening when I was starting to develop into, the butterfly. And things started happening, and I was just like, you know what? Let me just stay a little longer, let me just, ground my feet a little bit harder, And so I started doing that. And then one thing led to another when things started happening. And then, I prayed, I tapped back into God. I stayed in that cocoon a little longer. And then after it was all said and done, God gave me my answer. And one thing led to another, and I just started flying, and it's like I was out of my cocoon before I knew it.
And now that butterfly in flight, what's so interesting is I'm sure when I told you and the other ladies the name of this theme,
Oh
you
God,
must have
yes.
hollered.
Absolutely. The butterflies in flight, it literally like gave me a fire in my stomach to like know that this is the time. This is the time for our voices to be heard. This is the time to help other women that's in need. Because Mama Helen, is really, really like it's beyond me, but it's ladies out there, it's women out there that cannot leave like I left. I was married for 13 years.
Mm.
And 3 boys later, and it's a lot of women that will stay just for the convenience or just stay because of the outside looking in. And it's people that need to hear this story that you can leave. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to go out and fly and spread your wings like that beautiful butterfly you are. You're deserving of that. And when I heard that, it was like butterflies in flight. Like, oh my God! Like, if you think about the different stages of that butterfly getting to that butterfly, a lot of people don't want to go through the worm stage, the cocoon stage. A lot of people don't want to go through the stages. They just want to be the butterfly. And I just thank God for my journey because, like I said, at the time, I didn't understand it. I was down. I was out. I thought I was going to lose my mind. And
Ooh.
that's what the devil wanted. The devil knew what God had in store for me. And so the devil wanted me to lose my mind. The devil wanted me dead. The devil wanted me down and out. Not even to mention getting hit by the train. So it's like, God has me here, like right now today. He has me here in front of you, Mama Helen, telling my story because that's what his God ordained this. This is something that God ordained. And when you told me about the butterflies in flight, I knew it was God. I just knew it was God. I knew it was God.
Oh, oh my gosh. Now
Whew.
we're going to rewind because you just said hit by a train.
Yes.
What?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
March the
Right.
24th. I was hit by a train. And it was crazy because I had to have surgery on my eye, and I came out walking. I wasn't paralyzed. I mean, my vision is fine. I had my orbit bone broke. When I got hit by the train, I didn't even know that my orbit bone was broken. Of course, I knew that my eye was like open at the top and the bottom. And during that time, I was just praying like, God, what is it that you want from me? What is it that you want me to do? And I'm always moving. I'm always doing something. And sometimes God do tell you to rest, to, sit down so he can speak to you so that he can show you how to move. And sometimes when you disobey God and you don't do what he say, he have a way of, doing it. And, and I just thank God that, he brought me out alive. He brought me out where I just had to have surgery on my eye. My vision is not messed up. My pupil, my eyeball, all of that is intact. And that's how I know that I'm chosen. And I know that, God answer prayers. God answer prayers. And, I know I'm going in the right direction because I'm still here. I'm still here.
Yes,
And
you
I'm
are
in front
still
of
here.
you.
Oh my
I'm so
goodness.
blessed. I'm so blessed.
So how was there you get stuck on the track? Did the train just come out of nowhere? How in oh my gosh.
Um, so the way the train track is set up, it wasn't like, the arms that come down on the train once the train coming through. It's literally just the lights that's on the pole of the train pole. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
not no stop sign, no yield sign. So all you look for is the lights. Well, that particular morning, and it's a blind spot. So that particular morning on the way going to work, it wasn't no lights or anything. And locals, they just go straight on through if they don't see the train or if they don't see the lights. Well, of course,
Right.
I'm a local and I didn't see the train. I didn't see lights. So I just went on through. And then the next thing I knew, the train hit me. But the train was malfunctioning. The lights were not working.
Oh Lord. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you are. You are super,
I'm
super blessed.
chosen. I'm
And
so blessed.
you are chosen. You are chosen, and you're our butterfly in flight.
Oh.
And one of the things that, when I think about the title of this podcast,
Mhm.
reset to reinvent, because many of us, many women have had to reset and reinvent themselves.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I do want to go back and talk about, when you said earlier that a lot of women would choose to just stay in
Mhm.
situations for maybe lack of self-esteem and that sort of
Mhm.
thing. But you've always been a very strong-minded, very confident person,
Absolutely.
and filled with God. Okay,
Absolutely.
God is your driver.
Mhm.
But
Absolutely.
even with that, the skills that you have in the
Mhm.
profession that you're in, that has a lot to do with
Absolutely.
your ability to say, you know what, I'm out. I can take care of myself. I can make
Right.
my own money. So let's talk about, how did you get into the insurance arena? And you've had some super duper 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 success. I mean, this,
Absolutely.
ladies and gentlemen, and those of you listening and watching, this lady right here, she knows how to write some business. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Six figure from the very first year that she got in the business on her own pen. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Talk to us about how that happened.
Absolutely. So like you stated, in this industry selling, life insurance, and I wouldn't even say selling because we out there, we having fun, we're helping families, we're talking to people, just like, having fun, meeting people, spreading your spirit, spreading who you are. I got into this industry back in 2019. I was introduced totally out the blue by she don't want me to call her last name, but her name is Janet. And we used to work together. I was working in a call center, and she just, one day I was like, oh my God, like I'm so sick of this job. I just want to go. I'm tired of this job. I don't like people telling me what to do. I was, my own person then. And I was just like, I can make more money doing my own business. Because at the time I used to coupon, and I used to sell my items cheaper than whatever the store was. I used to get bundles together, and I just used to sell coupons. But I ended up getting a job in the midst, thinking that, I can make more, when I didn't think about, just giving myself more time on what I do, that I can make more. But I knew then that God had me at that job, probably not even 90 days. I think it was like 60 days. I was on that job, and the reason that I was on that job was because God needed me to be introduced to being a final expense producer. And
How about
so, yeah, and so, when we speak about being a woman and being in a marriage or a relationship where you can't leave, most women don't leave because of finances. Let's be honest. Most women cannot take care of themselves, or they depend on a man to take care of them. But in the final expense industry, you can take care of yourself. I have three boys. My parents. You can take care of yourself in the final expense industry. You don't need a man. You might want one, but you don't need one. In this final in the final expense industry, you can flourish into this beautiful butterfly, with the help that's here for you. God put people in your life here. Like, God placed people in my life, and Mama Helen is definitely one of them. Dr. Burns, oh my gosh, like, God placed people in your life that wants to really see you grow, that wants to see, you make money for your family. You out there helping other people while you're helping your family. So in this industry, you can give it your all, and your all will show in your bank account. So you don't have to wait on a man. You don't have to stay because you're uncomfortable and you need your bills paid. You could do like myself, leave. When enough is enough, I left. And this industry definitely helped me with that, because without this industry, I probably would have been stuck. I probably would have stayed, as well. And I know I will speak on this as well. A lot of men are intimidated by a strong woman who, make more than them, or who has, more brain power than them. A lot of men are intimidated on that, which is why most marriages fail if the woman is making, more than the man, which I feel like when God put you with somebody, Mama Helen, like I was married to that man for 13 years. When God put you with somebody, be grateful that he gave you a strong woman. Be
Right.
grateful that he gave you somebody that can go out there and hustle as hard as you. Be grateful, but most men, they don't be grateful. And women are stuck in those situations because they don't have, a producer license. They don't have somebody that can lead and guide them to the money. But in this industry, that's what we do. And, we welcome everybody. We love everybody. We love on you till you get to the top. And even at the top, you'll be building your business with someone else that you can love on and spread the love, and it just keep going. And now, what man? What man? Even though I do have, a man, but not to even disclose all of that, I'm very
Yeah.
happy in life. He's not intimidated, by who I am or who I'm becoming. And it's just like, that's who God wants you to be with, because God didn't make me strong for no reason. God gave me 3 boys. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like from my mother wounds, he knew like I was going to be the strong woman, and raising 3 boys now as a single mom with the support of my parents, it gets hard, but at the same time, I know that I have a business that I can just go ahead on and just go out and help a family, and in return get paid big bucks, no whammies. So I love what I do. I love to help women. We love to help women, and
Yes.
in this industry will definitely pay you your worth, and then you'll just be able to leave out of the situations. You don't have to feel stuck, and with the final expense industry, you can leave, and I get it. I get it. At first I felt stuck, not even financially, because of the love. I never cheated in 13 years, never cheated. And in
Mm.
2023, when I first found that out, I tried to work it out being who I, was. And 2024, I said, enough is enough. I packed my bags and started selling more life insurance, helping more people, talking to more families, and ain't look back. Ain't had that man since.
Oh, right. I tell you what, Marcia, you have been definitely very inspiring and
Thank
on
you.
so many different levels. And so as we finish up this interview, I want to find out, is there anything else that you would like to be able to say as we wrap up this Butterflies in Flight episode? Is there anything else that you feel like, someone needs to hear, something that you have
Absolutely.
on your heart that you can be able to share, and whatever's on your heart, just pour it out, girlfriend.
Absolutely. Well, because of the thing Butterflies in Flight, I do have on my heart, be that worm. If you're that worm, be the best worm that you can be. When we're talking about the stages of a butterfly and being that worm, the worm have different obstacles that they have to go through before they even become into the cocoon stage. They have to worry about birds and ants and, different things out there that can stop them. And, that's when I think about my life, I think about that, and I'm sure other people are going through that as well. You have different things that stop you out there, but get to that cocoon stage and do what God wants you to do. Develop yourself, pour more into yourself, because you have to be at a place in life where you're developing more into yourself, but you have to be by yourself and God, and then once you come out of that cocoon, you become this beautiful butterfly, but you have to get to that stage. And in order to get to that stage, it takes hard work, dedication, prayer, and support, So become that cocoon, eventually become that cocoon. You got to get out the worm stage. Whatever it takes to get out that worm stage, get out of it. Get into your cocoon with you and God. Get into your cocoon with prayer. Get into that cocoon so you can develop to be this beautiful butterfly. And here we want to help you. We want to help you become that beautiful butterfly so you can soar and spread those beautiful wings and just soar, When you think about a butterfly, Mama Helen, I mean, it's just it soars effortlessly. Like it
Yeah.
just seems like it's just, just doing this thing, like it's so beautiful while doing it. And that's what we do here. We pour into each other. I mean, just even having Mama Helen just, give us this opportunity to pour into you. Just become that butterfly. Come on, let us teach you the final expense industry. Let us help you become that beautiful butterfly. I appreciate this opportunity. I didn't cry. I'm so excited about that, and I just hope that, what we're doing is going to be very inspiring. It's going to help different women, even men out there. It may touch a man heart, just come out that worm stage, become the cocoon, become the butterfly so you can just fly away.
Oh, wow. I can't say it any better. Marcia, I want to thank you so much. You have been absolutely amazing. You are gorgeous, and I'm
Thank
loving
you.
the life,
So are you.
the new you. And I have seen the you said you started exercising and you're
Yes, ma'am.
slim and you're just gorgeous. And I'm just
Thank
so proud
you.
of you. And this has been an amazing
Yes.
half of Reset to Reinvent podcast. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break before we come back to our next person who's going to join us for today. But once again, Marcia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Good night.
Reset to Reinvent podcast. We are living in uncertain times. Job security is becoming more elusive. People are losing their jobs. Companies are closing. But wait, have you ever considered a career as an insurance agent? Just a thought. Our much talked about ebook, 8 Reasons to Become a Life Insurance Agent, can help you decide if it's for you or not. Order your copy today. Visit our website, Reset to Reinvent, and click on the Reinvent store. Who knows? It may be the best decision you've made in a long time.